I don't know. Can you tell that I've been enjoying Marvel Rivals along with everybody else? Like, is it obvious? Uh, I'm a little upset. I had one game I didn't get MVP. I still had the most final hits, but I did not get MVP. Anyway, I'm gonna talk about player trust and how Marvel Rivals has got an advantage over Blizzard just because of the fact that they're just not Blizzard at this point. Like, it doesn't it's not to say that Marvel Rivals is perfect. It is glitchy, it's choppy, it doesn't feel as smooth. There's definitely a lot of like FPS issues and ping issues, and like there's that memory leak where you have to restart your game every 3 games or so to try and like avoid crashing mid game. Like there are issues, but with anything new, uh, it's growing pains, and games I've always said, like, sequels will do better in games than their original, because of the fact that there's something to build off of already. But just like Overwatch Classic, there's a lot of players who are investing in the vision, investing in the potential, and gamers are really good at seeing potential in a good idea. And I think, Marvel Rivals is that potential. Um, but the biggest advantage it has not being Blizzard is the fact that it can make mistakes, and at this point will allow it, right? They can experiment with things, and we're more open to the experimentation. And this is the problem I have, and the worry for Blizzard is that Blizzard has dug itself its own hole of broken promises and broken trust, and you know, uh, long delayed development times and everything else that at this point, even if they had a good idea, I'm not sure the players would receive it too well. Um, it takes a lot to actually make the players agree that something was like a positive change for Overwatch, or that they're adding something good, or that there's not some ulterior motive, because of the fact that there's been so many times where it feels like we've been lied to. And it feels like we were just given PR responses that were left in the dark. And like, granted, like the new team iterates and is a lot more communicative, and they give a lot more interviews than they did in the past, especially when we're in the dark and we're in like, terrible metas for way too long. Um, yeah, like they're definitely doing better now, but even still, I don't necessarily think it's good enough. Um, I agree, with a lot of what Aaron Keller and Alec Dawson say in interviews. I just disagree with how I'm seeing it. Like, actions speak louder than words. And while I agree with what they say on paper, what I'm seeing in Overwatch 2 doesn't make me feel like I want to play, and doesn't make me feel like they're actually meaning what they say. And when I get that feeling, I'm sure there's other people that get that feeling as well, where uh, with all that broken trust, it just makes you feel like every single time that Blizzard says anything at all, your first instinct is to think they're probably lying. There's some ulterior motive. They're just doing it to sell skins. They're just doing it to, convince you to do whatever. Like, you know, um, b- when season 9 happened, or like when any season happens, like whoever's mythic skin it is usually a character that's gonna do really well that season, and that kinda sucks. Like, I understand the thought process behind it, but, like, they do way too well for way too long. Season 9, I remember Moira didn't get her damage didn't get nerfed until the very end of the season, and it's just like, that she got technically a damage buff at season 9, um, and it was because she had a mythic skin, and you're just like, well, not that I like Moira more than I like Kiriko, but still, nonetheless, it's just like it feels kind of slimy. That it's just like, okay, we know you're doing this to try and push money for your mythic skins, but we're already getting nickel and dimed and being sold all this other like stuff, and the shop is intentionally confusing, and it's not being improved because people are going to accidentally purchase stuff. Uh, and yeah, like there's just a bunch of things where it just comes off in a way where it's just like at this point, we all just have this natural instinct to get the ick from anything Blizzard does. Um, Even when things could just be an honest mistake, or even when they are genuinely trying to deliver something that they think that we want. Um, so yeah, Marvel Rivals, what it has going for it is just the fact that they're going to be much more able to make mistakes. And uh, and I don't know necessarily how Blizzard can recover from this. I think they're going to have to start giving a lot more back towards the players. I think they're going to need to, the delivering of skins was a good, nice touch over the holidays. Just giving us more that it doesn't just feel like they're just pumping out the same old content over and over again. And granted, I don't know what kind of stuff happened after Microsoft took over or the kind of stuff they dealt with under Bobby Kotick. Like, they could be dealing with a lot of shit in studio that we're not seeing. So I want people to give at least that benefit of the doubt. But even more so, myself included, trying to check that negativity at the door in terms of the natural assumption that when you see Blizzard doing something that you aren't even going to give it a try, right? Um, because I understand why players are angry, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be angry, but we need to be able to, as much as we might have fun with like other games, and other games might do something, the same developers don't work at the same companies. They don't always have the same solutions. Like, shit's different everywhere. Like, this is running Unreal, they're running Overwatch in their own proprietary engine. Like, who knows what the complications are behind reasons why they can or cannot do something. Um, but be open still as Marvel Rivals is popping off and it's fun and you're having a good time with your friends. Be open still to seeing Overwatch succeed, to seeing Overwatch do better and try and bring back that player trust. Uh, it still could happen. They still could improve it, and I think I saw that the 6v6 test is going to be extended, which is great. I think that's a positive sign. Hopefully, we start to see some positive changes there, because both games can do well. Both games can still make money, and both and because I love the Overwatch universe so much, I still want to see it succeed, especially in the hands of people who can do more with it and do better with it than what Bobby Kotick was doing. Um, but at the same time, I also understand, and I want game developers to understand why players would be angry, or why even other content creators, why gamers would be angry, and so angry to the fact that they wish Blizzard would fail, or they wish to see, Overwatch fail. A lot of people don't understand that, especially when we get confidence from being good at something, that for a lot of people, it might just be that the only thing that they had kind of going for them was Overwatch. And I understand that for some people that might sound sad, but also like perhaps someone didn't have the best social life. Perhaps someone is isolated. Perhaps someone is, um, you know, disabled or just unable to, or even just, it just so happened to be that this is just the one thing they feel really good at. Like, when you have something like that that you've invested so much time and energy into, it becomes part of you, part of your identity. It's you want to feel rewarded for the work that you've put in, and unlike something like exercising and working out or learning a hobby outside of video games that stays permanent, video games are temporary. And it doesn't change the fact that our reptilian or monkey brains or whichever one it is like still like, hey, this is mine, this is part of who I am, and someone took it away. Um, so for some people, after spending 8 years learning to get better at something, learning to polish and hone their skills, for a developer to make a few changes and tweak a few things, and suddenly it feels like none of that matters anymore, that can bring a lot of anger out in someone. And I don't think what they say is justifiable in terms of wishing developers to be fired. That's not okay. I don't think it's helpful to wish for studios to fail. That's not okay. But at the same time, I do understand where the anger is coming from. And that's why a lot of what I talk about in trying to see changes in Overwatch or even just video games in general and talk about the things I like to see, um, is to hopefully help improve things, like to see all games succeed and do better. Because I do think that that Marvel Rivals can do well and Overwatch can do well. I still think there's ways and time for Overwatch to bring back player trust, but it's also upon us to see changes that happen from Overwatch now that Marvel Rivals is out and be open to trying those new changes, to giving them another shot. And at the same time, also, like, if you're frustrated with Overwatch and you're not having fun, the best way to let them know that you're not having fun anymore is to move over to Marvel Rivals or play a different game. Like, if you're still logging in every day, they're still tracking that. Like, it doesn't even matter if you're not spending money, they're still tracking that you're logging in every day. So if you're unhappy, invest your time and energy into something else. Invest your time and energy into something that will give back, uh, you know, give back to you in the same amount that you put into it. Because at the end of the day, as much as I am an advocate for video games and how much it's brought me close to friends and how much it's kept me in touch with people that through long distances and how video games have been there for me throughout my entire life, and as much as I love them, there needs to be a world that you have outside of video games so that you don't get so angry over one game changing one day. And I say that, but I'm also guilty of it too, and I check myself as well. But yes, anyway, I'll sign off on that. But find a life outside of video games, and if a game isn't making you happy anymore, just step away and leave that door open. But there's lots of games out there. Uh, you know, just go and see what Steam sales are going on, or go give Marvel Rivals a try. Or if that's not working out for you, then pick up a new hobby. There's always lots of stuff to do in this world, and being bored is a choice. Like, you know, there's there's always something new to do and something new to learn. So keep that in mind.